Hello, this is a KDE Konsole color scheme tutorial. We are connected using Konsole, the KDE default terminal, using OpenSSH to a remote Windows computer, and we're running the text user interface file manager, FAR manager in there. And the contrast that we see in here for files which are not executables is not great, so it's a very hard to read green on blue background. I want to fix issues like this where the contrast is not good enough in the default color scheme of KDE Konsole, and I'm going to run various text user interface applications such as Minute Commander, FAR Manager, Emacs, etc. and also applications at the command line that have colored output. I want to have all of the possible combinations, foreground color and background color, that can be used in a text user interface application in, for instance, a n-curses application, have readable combinations of foreground color and background color. Let's try to change the default color scheme and see if there's a better color scheme available out of the box. We're using the Ubuntu 26.04 operating system. So in the main menu of Konsole, there's the submenu settings, and in there there's a window color scheme. I'm going to switch to another color scheme, and I can see that the WinDec, or the window decoration, has changed its color scheme. So maybe window color scheme is for the window decoration. I'm going to revert back to default. And let's drill into the settings, or maybe the profile. So there's two types of settings in Konsole. The settings, configure Konsole, so default more general settings that are not profile specific. I don't see anything about colors. Let's go to profiles. We're going to have a new profile. Let's actually create one. And there's a tab here for appearance. We can see that the default color scheme is indeed named Breeze. Color scheme and font. Okay, so probably this is the place where we will work. So let's name this profile for color scheme. Okay, let's switch to this. How do we do that? Settings, switch profile, profile for color scheme. It actually resetted the font size, which is unexpected. Okay, we have just made a copy probably of the default Konsole profile, and we'll need to edit it. So edit current profile. Has selected the correct Konsole profile to be edited. And in appearance, we'll go with another Breeze theme, or another Breeze color scheme, if there's such a thing. I would have expected to have more Breeze color schemes for Konsole installed by default. I was at least thinking of what if I switch my global Qt widgets and KDE Plasma theme from Breeze Light to Breeze Dark. Will that also change the default color scheme in Konsole? But then Breeze color scheme in Konsole already is white text on black background. So maybe that's why there's no varieties, breeze dark and breeze light for console color schemes. Okay, so let's choose something else. Let's go with solarized. The solarized also doesn't look okay and readable. This very light gray is not that readable to me. This N is not that visible. So solarized, I would say, is not a correct color scheme, doesn't work correctly in my opinion. Solarized light. Same issues in here. This name is really hard to read for me. White on black. Yeah. So the defaults that I remember from the year 1996 when I first touched MS-DOS 6.22 as part of Windows for Workgroups 3.11, the default text user interface file manager that we all used was Norton Commander, and the colors were extremely vibrant and everything was extremely contrasty. You could read everything. So the text user interface applications at the time were Norton Commander, DOS Navigator, Turbo, and a Turbo suite of applications. There was Turbo Pascal, Turbo C++, Turbo Debugger, Turbo Assembler, etc. All of these were in a very similar color scheme than what you see right now, which is dark black, dark blue as backgrounds, and then especially this blue color as foreground. So what I see right now, white on black, everything is very full of contrast, very readable. So white on black, really, really good on this example. So maybe some other combinations, if we open the menus, etc., will not work great and look great, but then the default look of what we see right now on the screen is correct. Let's actually try to open a menu. How do we do that? User menu, this guy. Yeah, I cannot click inside console when the settings window of console is open. Apply, okay, and now we can do it. So user manual, looks okay. Help. I have started creating a list of color schemes that are okay and those that are not okay. So white on black for now is correct. Again, I'm surprised that solarized is so bad. Hopefully this does not really reflect the default terminal color scheme that's available, I don't know, in Sun Solaris operating system version 8 at the default virtual terminal, not at the default VT, not inside a Xterm, for instance. Wow, this hurts my eyes infinitely. So I cannot read any of the red text in here. So red on black, really bad. Next up, white on black versus Linux colors. So most of the combinations, foreground and background color, look identical. So in this case, directories, executable files, non-executable files, and the group boxes look perfectly identical. The thing that is different is the text of the terminal and the 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the text of the function keys, the function key to press. But Linux Colors is definitely a regression on white on black. So Linux Colors has some of the foreground colors be this light gray, which is not as contrasty as pure white. So Linux Colors is somewhere in the middle. Next up, Kubuntu Black. So Kubuntu Black, similar to white on black in the sense of that the default font actually is white on black. But then some of the backgrounds have changed. I'm not sure if some of the foregrounds have changed. So they just randomly changed the dark blue background for no apparent reason. And also the background of this color, the name of the current directory. Yeah, this is not passable to me. It's totally not okay. Kubuntu Black. While we're at it, the currently selected row in this list view is a wrong color combination. So the color scheme, the default one for, I don't know, cute widgets, the default KDE Plasma color scheme, which is probably Breeze Light, is not okay in this case. So for the tabs, the color scheme looks okay. So white on blue, black on white, black on lighter blue. But then in the case of this selection, when the window is not active, this color scheme is this color combination is not readable for me. When the window is focused, the color combination is okay, it's just white on blue. But then when the focus changes to another window, then it becomes white on a very, very light blue, which is not okay at all for me. And if we hover on top of the selection, the background dark blue, light blue becomes even lighter blue, and the color combination is even harder to read. Yeah, a collateral issue, different one, but an important one. Next up, green on black. Green on black is the same as white on black, totally identical. Just the color of the default terminal is this neon style green on black. So green on black is semi. Dark pastels. Wow. Wow, somebody is trying to mess with your eyes just for no apparent reason. Totally not okay. So it's like a fog has been setting on Linux colors. Not okay. Campbell. Yeah, maybe some people are against white on black because it's too light, too seems like it's screaming to you, here, start reading this text. Maybe it's too sharp or something. Why would you go from white on black to Campbell? Not between not okay and semi. Next up, Breeze, which we know is maybe the worst out there. So it's Breeze is a standout on how not okay it is. Blue on black. Wow. The beer color, what's this color? Next up, black on white. So very similar to white on black, but this doesn't really look like white. Maybe it's some creme beige color for the background. Yeah, it is. It totally is. So it's actually light black on beige. I don't know. Maybe passable, but when you're not seeing a text user interface application, you're just seeing plain console application. Black text on white doesn't really sound familiar to me. Black on white. Next up, black on random light. Wow. So we can see as a constant that many of the themes actually are white on black, but they have just changed a single color combination, which is the default foreground color on top of the default background color. You can see the difference is just in the text of the console, of the command line inside File Manager, the text of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 F keys, and their backgrounds, and then the all-around background that can be seen, for instance, on the top of File Manager. You can see that now the top, so 3 pixels at the top of the File Manager are at this random light color. Yeah, if you don't want to fight any battles, make sure that most of the color combinations already work correctly. Then it's a good idea to base your color scheme on the one that actually works, which is white on black, and then just change one color combination, the foreground color, the default foreground color, and the default background color, which is being shown when there's no text user interface applications running. So this is my final verdict. Most of the color schemes not okay. Whenever a color combination from the text user interface once is being changed compared to black on white, there's huge chances that you're going to mess things up. So just prefer the black on white colors for everything else than the default background color and the default foreground color. And if you want to have your own personality, then yes, you can tweak just these two colors, the default foreground color, default background color. But don't mess up with the rest, because you're going to have possibly many text user interface applications not working correctly, and maybe obscure parts of text user interface applications will not work correctly. Maybe even your own manual testing will not find the places inside the hidden settings configuration of some text user interface application that just doesn't look correct. And then for the black on random light and black on yellow, on light yellow, I don't actually see how they're better than black on white, and then black on white is also a stretch for me. So if black on white is semi-okay-ish, then black on any other color is just not okay for me. It's just going to scream too much the default background color. Let's also look a bit at non-text user interface apps, such as the output colored of ls, list, -l, and the default bash prompt. Okay, so black on a random light is especially bad. These seam links look totally not okay. The username is not readable. Same thing for black on light yellow. So really, really bad, especially bad. Black on white, I can't really read the seam links. Blue on black, this one is actually okay, at least readable. Breeze is readable. Wow, solarized light, not at all great on my eyes. Okay, so the especially not okay ones are black on light yellow and black on random yellow on random light because of the seam link and the username. White on black is still outstanding, okay. Linux colors, similar but with more grayish whites. Let's look at some other terminal emulators, the ones in the integrated development environments this time. So I have Visual Studio Code and the Qt Creator. Let's open the default terminal. Let's make the thing be taller. Let's hide the not needed parts that are not the terminal emulator. Okay, let's see. ls-l, readable. The symlink is not that great, but okayish. So this is an example of lighter colors on darker colors working okay. And then this is an example of darker colors on whiter backgrounds working okay. Let's see MC. I'm not sure what's happening here. I guess that Midnight Commander actually wants to specify the symlinks by showing a different foreground color, background color combination for these two files, which it manages to on Qt Creator, doesn't manage to on in Visual Studio Code. How can we increase the font size? Control Shift plus. The fonts seem bold on Visual Studio Code and seem not bold in Qt Creator. So maybe in the color scheme you can actually also specify the fonts to be bold. Or maybe it's a font rendering thing. This terminal is not great, the one in Qt Creator, because it doesn't render the vertical bars correctly. There's gaps, spaces between the vertical bars in the group box, which is not expected. And then a missing column of dots in here. So 1 pixel missing. Okay, but then no bad surprises. So some color combinations are not shown, are just replaced with the default color combination, but then everything is readable. Okay, let's see the viewer. F3. Whoa, escape, did something interesting there. Yeah, the integration between the terminal and the integrated development environment doesn't work great. I couldn't open the text editor with F3 in Visual Studio Code. It's showing a search box. And then in Qt Creator, when I wanted to exit the Midnight Commander viewer, I pressed escape twice, which I always do. And when I pressed escape the second time, it just hid the terminal tool window. So the mouse becomes mandatory in these cases. I'm not sure if such color schemes actually exist, where you can tell that there's no characters in here and then there are characters in here. So you can see the end of lines because the backgrounds are different colors. So when there's no text, the background is green or blue. And then when there's text, the background is yellow or white. I'm not sure, again, this type of color schemes exist, but if they do exist, they look buggy to me. So this looks like an issue that should be fixed. Let's connect to the Windows computer and see in there how the file manager behaves. Okay, so both look okay. Both Visual Studio Code and Qt Creator both show the background color to be blue, so very similar to how they behaved with Midnight Commander. This is File Manager. Again, the same difference where the fonts seem bolder on Visual Studio Code, even though I have increased the size of fonts in Qt Creator to be a bit taller than Visual Studio Code. Okay, you can see which files are executable. This color combination looks okay right now, so far .exe written in green on black background, but when you select, the contrast becomes less great. And when I have selected far.exe in Visual Studio Code, the contrast looks way better. Let's look a bit at files and directories. Everything looks okay in Visual Studio Code. It's readable and can be easier read than the Qt Creator terminal. Let's read the viewer F3. Looks okay. Quit. Let's see the editor. Great. So yeah, there's totally a reason why most color schemes that I have seen in KDE Konsole and then the default color schemes in Visual Studio Code and Qt Creator for text user interface applications do prefer the blue background. I'm installing the default GNOME terminal emulator, which is called Thesis. And we'll see what the default color scheme looks like. So the fact that Thesis names itself terminal also when not running in GNOME is not great. I would say it's a bug. In KDE Plasma, it should call itself Thesis. Okay, let's see what we did previously, which is listing. So we're listing the contents of the directory /etc/profile.d. Everything's readable. The username, the symbolic links, nothing is shining. Let's start Midnight Commander in Thesis. Not the best contrast. You can see which files are symbolic links. It allows me to press F3. The Midnight Commander text viewer looks okay. I could press escape twice. F4 works as expected. This is nano. All of the characters are readable. There's the same background everywhere, same background color. And File Manager looks really okay, very similar to the color scheme white on black and Linux in console terminal, and also very similar to how Visual Studio Code displays it. The fonts seem intense, bolder than inside Qt Creator. The colors are not perfectly identical. We can see that in this part, in the title bar of the current selected pane, the colors are different. So white on, I'm not sure what this color is, whereas this is black on a similar background color. Selection looks readable. Overall, I would say the Visual Studio Code color scheme looks a bit better on my eyes. The fonts are a bit bolder. This contrast is better. But then the default font foreground color is way whiter than the one in Visual Studio Code. this text screams to me, whereas the names of directories don't scream. At this point, I have studied the color schemes that exist in console. I have studied other terminal emulators than console, and I totally want to fix the issue that the people that just install Kubuntu 2604 from scratch, clean installation, don't have a great experience with text user interfaces in the default terminal emulator that's installed, which is console. So this text I can't really read, for instance. And we'll see how I can improve the color scheme. I guess that I'll need to edit the color scheme. How do we edit this one? I guess that I need to edit the color scheme breeze. There's two alternatives here. Either we just, the KDE community just switches to white on black by default. We know this is the better out of the currently present and available by default console color schemes. Or we keep breeze, but then we modified breeze extremely, I don't know, 90% of the color combinations inside the breeze color scheme such that it actually starts looking more and more like white on black color scheme. So I guess what we actually want is to edit breeze theme. But then if I'm going to edit the breeze theme and make it look as much as possible as white on black, then we're not actually respecting almost anything from the default palette of colors from the breeze theme, the breeze plasma theme, the breeze light plasma theme, icon theme, cute widgets theme, and QML QQC2 controls theme. So if I were to keep white on black as it is because it's great and edit breeze to resemble white on black as much as possible, there's graphical user interface tools to do this. So we have the edit button. Let's make everything larger. So let's see what we see in here. So there's 8 color combinations. I'm not sure what's the foreground, what's the background in here. Color, intense color, faint color. Just 8 colors. I would have expected 8 color combinations like foreground color 1, background color 1, foreground color 2, background color 2. Like this, it's not immediately clear to me which combinations of foreground color and background color are used by real text user interface applications out there. If this is the only matrix that we get, which is foreground colors, background colors, and then 8 more colors, and for each of these we have 3 intensity levels, the normal, intense, and faint. Then how can we know if we have all of the possible combinations between 2 of these cells, one to be the foreground and the other to be the background, work okay? Let's see if we can edit both at the same time. We cannot. Yeah, maybe using the default KDE Plasma theme, which is Breeze Light, which has a color palette. By some means, a KDE console color scheme was created out of the colors in the Breeze Light palette. But then it's not enough to just generate colors that resemble the palette in KDE Breeze. You actually need to test real world applications and the way that they use colors, foreground color, background color inside a terminal emulator to see if these colors actually are making things easier to read or harder to read. So I will start editing the Breeze console color scheme to such that it resembles the white on black color scheme that works okay as much as possible. I'm going to start with probably the background color, and then I'll fix at least the most important issues where I cannot read text. And then we'll see when I do a merge request, so how much percent of the Breeze console theme color scheme I will actually change before doing the first merge request. So this was it. This was about terminal emulators color schemes. In this case, the KDE Konsole terminal emulator and its color schemes. Thank you.